technical difficulties yesterday. Who would have thought the Four Seasons in Napa would have poor Wi-Fi? So fortunately enough, it made it even better because I was able to be joined here today, belly to belly and face to face with Jon. So everybody watching along, sorry for those that missed yesterday, but really psyched to have Jon Festejo, who's the co-founder and CEO of a really cool company called Salesbricks. And his title topic today is top 3 ways to not lose enterprise deals and also CPQ insights. For those that are watching that are members of Sales Community, thanks so much. For those that are not, feel free to go check out salescommunity.com. And at the top left corner, you'll see something that says some are free. So if you click on that, you can get a free membership. If you click on the other one, you have to pay. So I recommend doing the doing the free one. So I recently met Jon through an introduction from Nick Candido, I think is what it was, right?
That's right.
And I like the company so much, I actually personally invested, and they became a sponsor of Sales Community. For interest, Jon is into golf and traveling, lives in Palo Alto right here where we're in his cool WeWork digs. Did you ever see the show We Crashed?
I did. I finished it. It's very
cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. And most importantly, he's a great husband and father, has 2 young boys, age 1 and 4. So kind of opposite spectrum from where I am. And Brian, who's one of your partners on the Salesbricks team, gave me some good meat on you. He said, Jon spent 10 years running deal desk operations, so he knows how painful it can be to work with legacy CPQ. It's why he started Salesbricks, and Salesbricks helps CROs shorten deal cycles with quote-to-cash platform that is enterprise capable right out of box. So I know we'll be talking more about that. And we should give a shout out here to SaaStr, right? SaaStr. Jason Lemkin put on a awesome event, just started today. I was over there this morning, and I can't say there really was ever any event where I actually spent so much time trying to pick what I wanted to go to, and the exhibits are great. For those that are there tomorrow, I'm doing a sales community meetup, kind of 11:30 to 1 in the co-working space. So anybody's around and wants to come check that out, certainly feel free. We've got a bunch of advisory board members that are going to be there. Jon's going to be there, so any others would be great to join. So maybe as we dive right in here, give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. Have about over 10 years in sales ops and revenue ops experience. My first job out of college was straight into a SaaS company. I was somebody who didn't know anything about working in a professional environment, and so fast forward 10 plus years, I've experienced a lot. And, I've touched over $2 billion worth of SaaS agreements, touching contracts for new logo transactions, upsells, renewals. And I've probably dealt with over 1,000 procurement teams in my experience. And so I've earned a little bit of a secret around how hard it is. And I really appreciate the professionalism and the amount of work that salespeople have to go do in order to get a logo. It's painful, but it's also very addicting when you go in. So
it's
appreciate
amazing.
a lot of the work that you guys.
Yeah. So the age-old problem, right? It's like, it's amazing. You think that, freeing up time for salespeople would be huge, with all the BS that you got to spend.
That's right.
Getting the proposals done, figure out the pricing, getting it out there, and the collection piece involved, which I know we're going to be getting into some of that. So maybe talking about Salesbricks, I would imagine that, and we're trying to figure, this is our first that we've actually done side by side with somebody. So I know we're trying to figure out whether it's whether we look, when we talk, when we look, or whatever we do. So I guess we'll figure it out. So presumably the reasons that you just mentioned is why you started Salesbricks, I assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, what really hit the nail for me was implementing CPQ for the 4th time in my career while I was expecting a son. And so, I was no longer able to go do these 16-hour days. And what that means for the business is CPQ implementation will just take 10 times longer. And so I think it was the last straw that broke the camel's back around, I think we need to go invent something from scratch. Because the way that CPQs are architected, it's just painful to go implement. In fact, the CPQ market basically invites a $1 billion business in consulting. You go hire somebody offshore
Oh yeah.
and spend 6 figures, sometimes even 3x what you've spent on the actual software to have somebody go implement and maintain it. And that just really shows how painful that is, and it's something needed to change. So we started Salesbricks about a year ago. One of my co-founders is a husband of a lady that I worked with twice. She ran deal desk and sales ops at 2 companies that I worked at. I was her colleague. I brought her in at Signal Effects prior to selling the company for $1 billion to Splunk. But we all knew the problems that we were trying to go solve, and so we had to go build something from scratch. And partnering with John Louis has been tremendous for me. He understands the problem immediately, and so we're taking it day by day to try to work with customers and prospects to unscrew up their CPQ implementation.
Oh yeah, and just trying to think back. Any of my big company or small company jobs, remember this is a problem, but shout outs Gary Richards and Dave Ornelas, who I would go kind of butt heads with more than once, saying, hey, we got to freaking fix this. And you talk about the big consulting firms, but then spreadsheets and everything else. But maybe a good way to represent, I don't know if there's any customer examples that you can talk about that you're helping.
Yeah, there's a security company that is about a year old, invested by Andreessen Horowitz. It's called Andreessen Securities, one of our iconic or bigger customers. They had over 180 line items of pricing rules and SKUs. And imagine bringing that to your new sales organization and say, hey, you have a week to go memorize this. It's going to be painful for ramping. And so what Salesbricks does is it basically digests a lot of these complex pricing structures and rules and creates this user experience that even a 21-year-old fresh out of college sales rep could go use, and within a few minutes build out a very strategic order form. And so that's one of an example. We do a lot of automation for some of our smaller companies, smaller customers that are less than $1 million in ARR. FreeFlow is one of them. It's a communication software company. And we're trying to start to sell into these publicly traded companies that have 7-figure investments in CPQ. And
it's crazy. And what about from a competitor perspective? You mentioned, I'm sure there's the huge consulting groups that want to get paid to do their own coding for the companies, and it fails miserably, and companies spend a lot. But are there other companies that are in the space?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the well-known ones that I don't know if I need to mention their name, but it has a blue cloud as their logo. Those organizations built and invented CPQ about 30 years ago, 20 years ago.
Created the problem as well.
And it's really hard for them to undo that and re-architect that while the train's moving.
Yeah.
And so it's really, if you look at their innovation, it's been very, very, very incremental over time.
Yeah.
You really have to go build something from the ground up. And one of the things that Salesbricks really focuses on is user experience, not only for the sales organization, but for the buyer. The modern day buyer is not buying the way that when you were going to sell software, whether it be on-prem or back in the 90s or 80s, that technology had long sales cycles, right? Nowadays, if you don't get the attention of a millennial buyer in their 30s or 20s, they're going to move on to go research some other solution that maybe they could go swipe a card online.
Right.
And so we have to go focus on that in order to go win the space.
Yeah. So it's kind of part of your offering, that B2B checkout process, right?
Yeah, we don't think of custom quotes and self-service checkout as two different architectures or infrastructures. Like we unify that within Salesbricks, but we provide solutions on top of each of those kind of go-to-market motions, so that, for example, you could create a very unique custom order for these like sales-led type of transactions. And for customers who maybe want 1 or 2 conversations with sales, they're going to check out using a URL link that's powered by Salesbricks. So at the end of the day, all that customer metadata around their subscriptions and entitlements land in the same bucket, so that sales could go manage that with a few clicks of a button. And so we pride ourselves in kind of taking a step back and re-architecting the whole solution from scratch. And it's taking time, but we've been getting a lot of positive feedback from our customers and even prospects that are in a sales cycle with us.
That's great. So where you're at now, how do you look at your ICP, your ideal customer profile?
Yeah, I think that's something that we're figuring out at the moment. We rolled out our CRM integrations just recently, and we can play really nicely side by side with these antiquated solutions, and then we can go even rip them out too. So I think right now I'm going to start focusing on the larger transactions, the larger enterprises that have a lot of complex pricing and packaging, and they need to kind of unbundle a lot of the friction within their sales process. And they're looking to something like a Salesbricks to go help automate a lot of the quote to cash.
Yeah, common complaint for sure. And probably lots of our sales community advisory board members, and some that'll be there tomorrow, hopefully. And then from a decision maker perspective, if we talk about kind of going high, starting high, then kind of going down before we talk about going low and going up. So from a C-suite perspective, is it kind of more the CRO, CFO, or kind of what level?
Yeah, I think the CRO is, if you think about the pyramid of, who's your persona.
Yeah.
From a CXO perspective, it's the CRO. They're compensated based on logos and ARR. And if any solution out there or their tech stack that they kind of own is slowing down the sales process or helping or making it very challenging for them to achieve those goals, it's a CRO. They are compensated. Their targets are tied to revenue, and we help them kind of accelerate that process.
Wow. And then do you have the session I was listening to over at SaaStr today was by Mark Roberge at Stage 2 Capital, who's the master and probably the father and grandfather of PLG, product-led growth. Do you have a PLG model also with what you're doing?
Yeah, we similar to something like Lever, where off the bat, like if you don't have a careers page, like Lever will automatically allow you to go embed like a page powered by Lever to go manage your listings, what your openings are for your organization. We do the very same thing for the pricing page. And so you could go embed a powered by Salesbricks pricing page onto your website, and it takes about 30 seconds. You just have a developer go in and kind of embed that link into the pricing tab. If you have a pricing page already, you can actually embed the order builder URL into the actual call to action button for those respective plans. And so as you're designing pricing and packaging, you're actually creating specific price books that are for the more low touch, no touch customers that just want to get access to your product. And so we power that for a lot of organizations. And at the end of the day, all those transactions are flowing through Salesbricks, flowing through the CRM, very streamlined. We can power that for any company that wants to experiment with PLG, even if they have been living a sales-led go-to-market org for a very long time.
Wow, that's awesome. And if I allow you to give a commercial, what roles are you hiring for now?
Yeah, we're hiring for sales. We're looking to expand our sales organization, and we're looking for kick-ass, great sales engineers that could help us and build a product.
Awesome. All right. So sales and sales engineers, and I assume geography, you're flexible because your customers are everywhere.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. So we also, Tucker is behind the scenes as always. Thank you so much for your help and your patience here. So Tucker, if we have any questions, make sure you pull those up because I've got a different screen view from what we've had before. So if anybody's watching, feel free to comment or ask any questions as well. And Tucker will make sure we get to those.